All right, so I'm not sure if we're live yet or not, but appears that we are. Hello, hello. Are you in transition? Are you in transition right now because you want your life to feel more authentic. You want to feel more like yourself. And you're either contemplating what that transition might look like in your life. Maybe you're transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship. Maybe you're already on your path as an entrepreneur, but you know that there is a bigger reach for you. Or maybe you are clarifying your mission, or you know there are bigger gifts for you to tap into, and you're not feeling like you're fully living your message, fully walking your talk. There are so many ways in which we can be in transition or contemplating this transition. And we would like to talk to you today about what the power of this transition and how to recognize that it's happening and what you might consider doing. And we're going to use some examples from women who've been walking on this path with us. We've learned a lot from them and from our own experiences. So we are Dr. Valerie Rain
And Jeffrey Tambor.
and we are on a mission of helping world changing women fulfill their missions and thrive by uncovering and healing intergenerational trauma. I'm the author of Patriarchy Stress Disorder, The Invisible Inner Barrier to Women's Happiness and Fulfillment. And we're so happy that you're joining us for this broadcast today.
hmm And as we're looking at this idea of being in transition, all of us have that experience of being called to it. When we're
Mm-hmm.
in these transitions, there's usually these lead up phases where you
Mm-hmm.
feel like what was begins to break down or it's no longer satisfying. You feel like you're going through the motions and you start feeling either that whisper, that tug, that draw. Something starts calling you forward.
Yeah, you may feel a little numb. You are
Mhm.
maybe in denial that you're being called because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It's going to disrupt your life and you
Mhm.
know it. And shit, I wish I didn't have to.
Mhm.
But something in you knows that you do. Recently, I heard this from a brilliant woman who knows there is a bigger mission for her in her life. She's very successful. She's a CEO of two companies, and she feels that there's a bigger mission in her helping women find their voices, find their freedom. And she can literally feel if she doesn't step into this bigger mission, she's going to get sick. There is that in the knowing. And how many women do you know, maybe including yourself, who did either experience the symptoms in the health domain or relationship domain or finances? Something started cracking because life whispers to us that call to adventure, and uh, and then turns up the heat, and sometimes it's a really can be really devastating. It's not fun. So if you're going through this right now, we'd like you to know that not only you're in good company, but hopefully something that we get to share with you today may support you on this journey. And by the way, let us know if you can see and hear us. This is the first time we're using this platform to go live. So just let us know in the comments. And if you have any questions or if something is resonating with you, put that in the chat also. We would love to hear from you. I'm going to bring up chat now so that we can see it. We may not be able to see it. In that case,
We'll keep
we
going.
will go back and answer your questions and comments after we finish the broadcast. Thank you so much in advance.
Yeah. And like Valerie was saying, one of these major pieces of when we start feeling that call, it all is going to get louder. I know you've all experienced that feeling of getting the whisper, hearing the call, feeling that inkling. And then when we don't actually start acting on it, they say they'll start, calling it out from behind us. And then we still don't get it. We start getting the two by fours. And whether it's in our relationships, in our business, in our health, in one of these areas, the sooner we can really begin engaging it, listening to that, moving into that, the less suffering we go through in this
Mhm,
entire process.
mhm,
And this can happen before as you're transitioning in, but sometimes because of how internal trauma and conditioning and patriarchy stress disorder can play out, when it comes out after you're transitioning. Sometimes, maybe if you're someone who tends to make big jumps and kind of bold actions, you might go into the transition. And then once you're there, then things start coming up. Then maybe things start resisting in the body or showing up in relationship or challenges. So it can come up at any point around this transition.
And I'd like to really zero in on that resistance that you may be experiencing. Maybe you've heard in the field of personal development that you just need to punch fear in the face. Maybe you've heard that you just need to fix your mindset. Maybe you've heard that you just need to use your willpower and just do it. And although all of these things may have their place in our experience, something that operates to create these invisible inner barriers runs deeper, deeper than the mindset, deeper than the willpower. And punching fear in the face may not be such a good idea based on what I'm going to share with you next. So, these invisible inner barriers, we call them prison guards in our system. They operate in our subconscious. And how did they get there? They got there based on the traumas that we experienced in this lifetime, but also inherited. And when we talk about patriarchy stress disorder, what we mean is intergenerational collective trauma that we were all born with based on thousands of years of oppression that women have been experiencing in in that it has never been safe to be a woman, let alone a woman who has world-changing dreams and ambitions and goes for her desires. These women were burnt at the stake. They were locked up in asylums and got lobotomies. They were excommunicated. They were exiled. They suffered horrible fates, so horrible circumstances. And those who didn't watched them suffer and experienced that secondary trauma and did not dare. And so that's what we inherited. That's the programming, that visibility, success, living on mission, even loving who we love, all of that. That was completely prohibited and punishable for women under patriarchy. All of this, our subconscious interprets as unsafe, as a threat. And that's why those prison guards, they operate from our subconscious. And according to neuroscience, our actions are decided in our subconscious. I'm going to say that again. Our actions are decided in our subconscious. So if you're busy fixing your mindset, that's fine, but realize that is not where this originates. Yeah, it's a better experience to think more supportive thoughts than self-denigrating and critical thoughts. And um, if our experience of having worked with hundreds, thousands of women by this time through our virtual experiences and programs, if that's any indication, for most of us, our inner critic is really, really harsh, vicious at times. And yes, we can spend our days arguing with the inner critic and trying to insert a better dialogue there, or we can go to the root. We can go straight to our subconscious and heal this intergenerational trauma so that our subconscious can start associating success with safety and then driving the bus toward our goals and desires.
And when we're getting into these places of transition, all of this is activated. All of this intergenerational trauma, all of this conditioning is
Yes.
getting lit up. Even the idea of starting moving towards it,
Mhm.
things start to constrict, they jam. I'm sure you have that sense of almost like that feeling of can't breathe, or that weight, or that being pulled back or held back.
Or
That
just
can happen with
yeah,
this.
or every time you think about it, you just get tired.
Or foggy.
Inexplicably, you just get tired and like you forget what you were supposed to be
Mhm.
doing. You have this great plan, going to bed, and then you wake up and you're like, you're just not doing it. And you're like, what's wrong with me? And the answer is nothing, really nothing. Um, I don't know you personally, but what I do know is that we all share these invisible inner barriers. And yeah, we have different histories, we have different resources, different privileges, different oppressions,
Mhm.
and we share some threads that run through it all. And we want to share a couple of inspirational stories with you today and also invite you to join us in unpacking this condition together and making steps to healing it. So I'm going to mention where and when we're gathering. Tickets start at free, at no charge, and you can learn more at thethrivingexperience.com. That's thethrivingexperience.com. It's a virtual event. It's our legendary virtual retreat where we take a deep dive together and using the power of community of world changing women just like you who are called to do big things in the world, who are running into exactly the same invisible inner barriers like you, believe it or not, all, including myself, running into the same invisible inner barriers. But with this work, with this awareness, we gather tools, we gather resources so that the journey can be much easier, much more joyful, much more fun, much more productive, effective, and make some friends and have some fun along the way. So I hope you can join us at the Thriving Experience and invite those women you'd love to join you on this journey. And a couple of stories would like to share with you about women in transition. Maybe you're thinking right now, oh, I would like to join, but I can't make this time, or this is not a good time. I'm very busy. I'm thinking about a woman by the name Erin who joined us during the time when she was literally moving from the United States to Mexico to get get to catch her breath. She was going through a divorce from a narcissist over 20 years together. She was devastated. She felt completely crushed. Her self-esteem, her sense of self-worth. She didn't trust herself to make good decisions. She didn't trust herself to be a good mom to the two kids. And so she was taking them to Mexico also to save some money and to just get a reset. And we literally talked when she was at the airport. And she just
Speaking of transitions.
speaking of a major transition. And so she decided to take a leap and join us on this journey of uncovering and healing PSD. And what happened for her in just a few short months, and a lot of deep dives, a lot of deep commitment to this work, to this healing, she started remembering who she is, who she truly is, who she authentically is. And that's the experience she might have never even had before, because the symptoms of PSD, they kick in early. Like she remembered even as a child, she held back in school, she wouldn't speak up. And then later she was in an Ivy League school, she was going to law school, and she would rather take a lower grade than participate, although she had a lot to contribute. She's absolutely brilliant. And so she began to heal this. She began to show up and she began to trust herself as a mom. She actually started homeschooling her kids. That's a long, it's a long shot or a far cry from, not trusting herself at all to make good decisions, taking them all around the world. And financially, by the way, she began to trust herself to be able to provide. And she picked up a new skill. She learned day trading, which is something that she embraced because she reclaimed her being really smart and really good at math. Imagine that, how PSD completely disrupts women confidence in themselves. And in the area of math, there are some studies that I may share with you at the event that really show us how deep this runs, how deeply patriarchy has fucked our belief in ourselves and ability to perform based on that. So after reclaiming that confidence, that ability, she gained a skill that allows her to work. As she shared with us last time we talked about it, she works an hour a day. She makes more than she ever made as an attorney. And a big win for her was letting go of her law license. And she travels with her kids around the world. She spent a month with them in Paris recently. That was a dream come true. And they're just having so much fun. Right? It's a whole other dimension of living that we step in. So I want to say to you that if you're feeling there's more for you in your life, you are right. That little voice you're hearing, that there is more, there's a more authentic life, there's a bigger life, there's more to who you here to be, what you're here to do, what you're here to experience. That voice is right. So follow it. And PSD will try to silence it. Those prison guards will try
Mhm.
to silence it every step of the way. That's why we would love to support you at the Thriving Experience, the thrivingexperience.com. Check it out, register, join us. As I said,
Mhm.
tickets start at free. And I just want to also share with you. You wanted to add
Yeah, and I
something.
want to add,
Yeah.
and for Erin, she didn't actually know what that looked like. The
Yeah.
more wasn't specific. There wasn't a clear picture. There
Hmm.
was just a sense of that transition. And it's so important when we're in these transitions that we create space for that unfolding, because all of the patriarchal conditioning says you need to have the plan, you need to have it figured out before you take a
Yep.
step, you need to know where you're going. And when we're in these transitions, oftentimes the way we get to that clarity and that possibility is by diving in and doing the deeper work. And
Hmm.
that opens things that you couldn't even have imagined or conceived of before. And we
Hmm.
see this in our lives. We see this in the women who do this work's lives every
Absolutely.
day.
I'm also thinking of Mar and her story. And Mar was a life coach when she came to work with us. And her transition was that she could feel, she was just bursting out of her skin with this feeling that she had a much bigger impact to make. But PSD was convincing her that, being in Mexico, living in Mexico City, like she couldn't charge the same rates. Nobody would pay her as much as people charge in the US, for example. And that she just didn't have the same access. She didn't have the same opportunity. There were a lot of stories that her prison guards were creating, but the truth of it all was that they were effectively keeping her safe, quote unquote, safe from stepping into her bigness, into her power. And so, doing this work, she was able to tap into the safety, right? Step into the safety of being in her power and let her light truly shine and her impact just exploded. Her influence, her reach, her business. She actually, in the course of a year of doing this work with us on this path, she quadrupled. No, wait a second. She doubled her business 4 times. That's what happened. So, which I believe reflects a 16x. Yeah, 16-fold growth. And then at the end of the year, she said, "Oh, I could have done it again, but I decided to take the last couple of months or whatever off the year and travel with my family and have fun and be." So we don't know what's going to happen on this journey, but if you do know that you are called for to experience something bigger, to tap into more of your authentic self, your authentic mission. I hope you join us because we want to meet you, we want to support you. And here is why. Here is a little bit about us. Here is what this movement is all about. The movement to heal PSD is a movement to create a world where every woman gets to thrive and fulfill her mission without holding back, apologizing, sacrificing herself, being less than who she truly is, or burning out. By no longer passing down the legacy of oppression, these women help usher in a world of equality and thriving for all. And if it resonates with you, you may be wondering, who are these women gathering? What do they have in common? Do I have something in common with them? So here is who we are calling a thriver. See if that resonates with you. Being a thriver means we uncover and heal intergenerational trauma so we can end the legacy of oppression for all, fulfill our missions, and live fully, authentically expressed. We embody thriving and wake up and empower others to do the same. So, if that spoke to you, I hope to get to meet you at the Thriving Experience, thrivingexperience.com. Please come, please share with those women who you know will resonate with this message too. We are stronger together. And if you were told that you just need to work harder, you just need to fix your mindset, that you just need to exercise your willpower, well, perhaps Don't take my word for it, but come and experience a different way of doing things, which we have seen be more elegant, faster, and effective than those other approaches that we have all also tried, as well as many, many other things, self-help, therapy, coaching, you name it. So perhaps this has been a missing link for you too, and we hope that you join us and uncover it and use it in the service of your most authentic, most fulfilled life and your mission and thriving. thethrivingexperience.com. Look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, drop a comment here and we'll come back and visit. Until then, I'll see you again soon.